Hello there, I'm Boo, or Jamie, and I like drawing, maximizing my hours in all the Pokemon games to find shinies, and I like to complain about lore in World of Warcraft. Hello, and welcome back to a new episode on the channel. Today we are starting in Orgrimmar because I have something special planned for today. It is Burning Crusade Reputation Week. And I thought, well, we already spent most of our time in Burning Crusade anyway, so I'm gonna do a little special episode, and today we're actually not going to quest, we're gonna do something very different. So the first thing we're gonna do is mount up on this very fleshy mount, because my Hearthstone is still set to the Sunstrider Isle, and that won't do for what I'm having planned. So now we're bound to the Scryer's tier, and now we have actually opted out of time walking, and while I'm flying down here, I'm gonna tell you why. Because what I really like, besides leveling alts and professions and all that stuff, is also getting reputation. And one place where you can get a lot of reputation for Burning Crusade, apart from quests and dailies, is actually dungeons. And we are on our way to one of the first dungeons we're gonna do for this one, because the Outlands have many dungeons to offer us, and they are mostly clustered together. So all over Outlands we have amounts of dungeons close together. For example, down here in Auchindoun we have the Mana Tombs, the Sethkk Halls, the Shadow Labyrinth, and also the Auchenai Crypts. And we're gonna do all of the dungeons today, because we're gonna do a little dungeon tour all across Outlands, but we're gonna start down here. And before we even gonna jump into one of these dungeons, I'm also gonna do something else. I'm gonna put on a tabard of a fraction. And I have already gathered the one from Silvermoon, Undercity, Orgrimmar, the Darkspear Trolls, and the Bilgewater Cartel, because with these tabards equipped, we also gonna get reputation for the city that the tabard belongs to, in this case Silvermoon. So we're gonna get reputation for many of the different Outlands fractions and also some of our homeland fractions. And now, because I've never been to these dungeons, I'm gonna accept all the quests. And actually earlier I was testing something out and realized that with level 40 I'm already big enough to one-shot everything in the Burning Crusade dungeons, which is kinda cool. Because as you can see, now with every mob that we're killing we get a lot of reputation for the Consortium, and every single instance in Burning Crusade has a different fraction connected to it. And that's what we're gonna do today. This dungeon is, by the way, a little bit annoying, because these ethereal crypt raiders have this very annoying thing that they just charge at you, just very much like the Undying Knights back on Hellfire Peninsula did. And I always very much like to do this kind of grinding, because I feel like it's very soothing and very relaxing. And also I just like to feel like my characters are doing some progress towards a goal, in this case reputation. And apart from filling up bars, it's also very handy to have the different fractions of Outlands on Exalted, because they have a lot of recipes for the professions, if you're into that kind of stuff, and also a lot of transmog locked behind the different reputation levels. So for today you can just lean back and come along with me on a little travel of the world tour that I always like to do when the BC week is up. And this is also very handy to me, because I'm still missing a lot of transmog that comes from the dungeons itself, because apart from giving you a lot of reputation and all that jazz, in these dungeons there's also a lot of transmog dropping, and also rare recipes, rare transmog that you can also sell on the auction house, of course, and every now and then even the occasional herb or adamantite deposit. Yay! And there is a reason that I started with the Mana Tombs in Auchindoun, because apart from there being 4 dungeons very close together in Auchindoun, the Mana Tombs is also one of these dungeons that very handily leads you back to the entrance of the dungeon at the end of the dungeon, so you don't have to run the entire way back if you want to get out of the dungeons without a portal. Sadly, this is not the case for all the dungeons, obviously, because that would be way too easy, but it is the case for some. And now the first little trick you can do with Nexus Prince Shafar is that you engage combat with him and just stand AFK for the next, I think 2 to 3 hours. And by the end of it, he's gonna have summoned so many ads that you're gonna get a lot of reputation for the consortium. I don't know how you pronounce it in English, by the way. But we're not gonna bother with that. We're just gonna kill him like that because I'm gonna do this every day anyway, and I'm not that crazy about zooming too exalted with one fraction only and stand AFK for so long. That's just not how I like to play this game. And onwards we zoom to the next dungeon, which is going to be the Sethkk Halls, because the Sethkk Halls are also one of these cool dungeons that just lead you to the entrance again at the end. Thank you, Sethkk Halls, for being a cool dungeon. Oh, and by the way, it's very important that you put your dungeon difficulty on heroic, because on normal, first of all, you're gonna get a lot less reputation per enemy killed, and also you're gonna stop getting reputation at honored. But I always find this is the coolest and smoothest and chillest way to get up reputation in Outlands, and also at the same time getting up reputation for the main cities of the Horde or the Alliance. Obviously you can do this on either side. This is not bound to one fraction only. The only thing you need to bring along is a lot of backspace and a little bit of patience, because you're gonna travel a lot. And while we're at it, I'm also gonna track low-level trivial quests, because otherwise I might miss something. And don't you worry, once we are done with all of these dungeons and we've done a little bit of other stuff, we're gonna go back to our TBC lore master that is still on my list. But I thought for today, with Wednesday just having arrived, this is a funny little extra thing that I wanted to show you guys for quite some time anyway. And done with the second quest, and we're gonna run out. And I know that I have one more quest down here, Eyes of Desire, but I'm just gonna hand that quest in tomorrow when I'm gonna come back to this dungeon anyway. Obviously, not all of these one-time dungeon quests gonna give you reputation, but I like to have my minimap clean of any exclamation marks that I'm still missing, so I'm gonna do all of these quests. And now we have the difficult decision to make if we wanna do the Shadow Labyrinth first or the Auchenai Crypts. Both of these dungeons won't lead you back to the entrance easily. You have to run back the entire way that you came in. But I like this dungeon a little bit more, so we're first gonna go to the Shadow Labyrinth. The Shadow Labyrinth is, by the way, the best place to farm the reputation items for the Eldor, because everything in here drops the marks of Sagaras and also the occasional fell ornaments, which are the items you need to hand in for the Eldor. Hello, good sir. How's the spy business going? None too well, I imagine. That's no biggie. We're gonna free him from this cage. And we're also gonna get a lot of reputation for the lower city for our troubles, so yay. And the attentive watcher might have already noticed that I once again changed up our transmog and hairstyle. I put us into the full set appearance that is the Gladiator Scaled Armor, which is season 1 of the Gladiator sets from TBC. This one you can just pick up in area 52 for 12 marks of honor. And the weapon that I'm wearing is the Hammer of the Naru, which I think is one of these items that drop from Doomlord Kazakh, which is a world boss on the Hellfire Peninsula. But you also just get it if you create a paladin, I think. I don't think you need to do anything else, basically. And the paladin only has to be from one of the allied races, because those guys get some special armor when you create them, and I think you just get the transmog there. So this is a very budget transmog, but I still like it. And I thought, you know, we can look a little bit more intimidating than usual if we're already zooming through the heroic dungeons of the Outlands. And I really gotta say, there's something so satisfying about throwing your judgment at 4 people at once. And also there's something very satisfying about finding so many adamantite deposits all across the dungeons. I appreciate that. I don't appreciate that, however. Don't do that. Don't interrupt me. That's rude. Now we're gonna have beef with a really big recoloration of Ragnaros. Good old Murmur, who does a very impressive scream once you kill him. And while he's doing that, we're gonna run back the entire way back to the entrance of the Shadow Labyrinth. Alrighty, this took no time at all. And now we're gonna go to the last dungeon, which are the Auchenai Crypts. Again, what's up with the dazing? Honestly, is this new or have I just been lucky my entire WoW career that I never got dazed this much? Or is it because I'm not that high leveled yet and these mobs can still daze me? I have no idea. And there we have one of the transmogs that was still missing for me. That's really cool. Honestly, I don't really know right now what I'm still missing, but I know that I'm definitely not having everything, because to get all the transmog from all the TBC dungeons takes a lot of time. And I've done this reputation grind on almost every armor class so far, but I think plate is actually the one that is missing, so this is very convenient for my collection. And also, yep, this is what your inventory looks like when you're on the grind for reputation in TBC. And we're definitely gonna look through all of this before we sell it, because I'm sure there's gonna be one or the other appearance in here that I'm still missing. But we're gonna take care of that once I'm done with this dungeon, so see you in a bit. And with that, we're done with the first cluster of dungeons. And I'm gonna quickly sell everything in my inventory so we're free to do the next little run. And I'm also gonna look for transmog. And not only did we get feet that are better than the ones we were wearing, we also indeed got a little bit of transmog from all the trash mobs. So I'm gonna quickly add that to my appearance collection. And I'm also gonna hang on to this weapon and this shield, because I have a feeling that I'm gonna get a little bit of coin on the auction house for them. And on our way to our next goal, actually, I just realized that we have a quest to do here for the Shattered Sun. And for this one, wait, what do we have to do? Oh yeah, we have to do that. And now we have these cuties with us, and I think now they can... now they can find these roots for us, right? Oh yeah, if we find a mound. Alright, where do we have that? Okay. This is such an Outlands quest, honestly. Alright, because first we need to make them like us, which we did, and now we need to find the dirt that they need to look through so we can find the roots that our quest giver wants. Alright, wait, let me mount up on a ground mount, because I'm a little bit worried that once I start flying he's gonna stop following me. And here are the dirt mounts. Alright, look for roots, cutie pie. Nice, good boy. Alrighty, and with all of these roots unearthed, we're on our way to the Hellfire Citadel, because over there, again, that beautiful, beautiful cluster of dungeons that TBC has to offer. But, before we even gonna go in there, I'm gonna fly down here into the raid Mactorian's Lair, which is also an instance that's gonna reward us with a little bit of reputation. To be honest, I don't know if I'm strong enough to take down the boss. I think so, but we're gonna see. Alright, we can absolutely take down this boy. Very convenient. We have a big demon head in our backpack, and now we're gonna fly up to the Hellfire Ramparts, because that is the first dungeon that we're gonna do. And usually I would actually first go to Thralmar and hand in the head, because the head used to give you a 10% reputation increase for the dungeons in the Hellfire Basin. But the thing is, due to all the different server shardings and all that kind of jazz, that doesn't really apply anymore and you don't get the buff, so I don't really care. I'm gonna hand in the quest at the end of this adventure. So in we go. And this is probably a very known sight to anyone who still remembers how it used to be to level a character up from 1 to anything before they revamped the whole questing zones with always growing with you, because you always went into this dungeon the soon you hit level 58. And I still remember what it felt like to get that freshly out of the starting zone Death Knight tank that had absolutely no clue about their class and would die to the first pack of mobs and then rage quit and leave you stranded without a tank. Fond memories. And something that I've always wondered is why you get the achievement for the Hellfire Ramparts here, but you need to kill Vasruden the Herald for the achievement for the heroic Hellfire Ramparts. Like, I get that the ladder is the end boss of this dungeon, but why do I get the normal achievement always here with Ormar the Unscarred? Yeah. Ta-da. Open the chest. Thank you. And once again, very conveniently, this is one of the dungeons that just lets you jump down to the entrance of the dungeon at the end, which is also why I always start with this one. And now we're gonna go to the Blood Furnace, because the Blood Furnace has the same neat little gimmick. This is the second one, if you wanna, you know, do the dungeons also chronology, Jesus, whatever. You know the word that I'm desperately trying to say. Strange, I thought we just had taken care of this dude. Ooh, more transmog. This is actually really cool because this is another one of the recolors that I was talking about in the last episode or an episode before that, because many of the transmog sets that you can farm in these old TBC dungeons are just recolors of the old tier sets, which is really nice, and sometimes I wish they would have kept up with that tradition, but sadly they didn't. But hey, at least we have Outlands to provide. But before we go to the Shattered Halls, I'm gonna quickly get these Fel Iron deposits, and then I'm gonna hand in the head of Magteridon, and then we're gonna do the dungeon, because the Shattered Halls is sadly another dungeon that leaves you no option but to port out of there if you want to get out and you don't want to run the entire way back. Alright, hi Nazgul, remember me yesterday? And just like that, we are revered with Thrallmar. Obviously, if I wouldn't have quested the day before yesterday everything that I've done here on the Hellfire Peninsula, then we would have now probably be on our best way towards being already exalted with Thrallmar. But honestly, whatever. Like I said, we're gonna have more time than enough to do all of these dungeons this week. And onwards to the Shattered Halls, which are a little bit hidden, mind you, because they're down here, almost on the same level that the Hellfire Ramparts are. And back in the day, you needed to do a very long keychain quest to be even able to go inside this dungeon, which was a thing all over TBC, by the way. You needed to do basically every single dungeon to be able to, first of all, get into the other dungeons and also later the raids. But yeah, they got rid of that. I can't imagine why. Some people say they miss it. I gotta say, that is really one of these things that I never really missed. But again, since I'm usually so boomer about everything else in WoW, I can't really be like, well, I don't understand if people are missing that stuff. That's not really cool. So I get it. Keys were cool, alright? And by the way, if you're a mecha gnome or a rogue, then you can just open the door we just passed upstairs, and then you can skip this entire section downstairs here. All these mobs don't give you reputation, so you're also not missing out on anything. And now, very importantly, we need to use this Warlock's amulet right here. People often forget that, and then you have to run back all the way if you want to hand in the quest. And we also just dinged Exalted with Silvermoon, so I'm gonna put on our next tabard, which is gonna be Undercity with the very unfortunate face of Sylvanas Windrunner, the big war criminal. But hey, you know, it's a very recent development that Sylvanas is not a beloved leader of the Horde anymore. And there is one of our very sexy Warlords of Draenor, even though this version might not be as sexy as his Draenor one. But we don't mind. You will always be fabulous, Kargath. And then for just good measure, we're gonna kill the Shattered Hand Executioner, because we really need those 22 reputation with Thrallmar, alright? And with that, we're gonna port back to Shattrath. And over here, I'm gonna do once more the dance of looking for transmog and selling all the stuff in my inventory, because it's getting crowded in here again. And once again, I found a new piece of transmog that I didn't have before. And also, just a little word of advice, if you really want to min-max this whole experience also gold-wise, then obviously before you sell all your greens, you should definitely head to your next auction house and just throw them in and see, because sometimes these things can give you a really nice amount of gold, because some of these transmogs are very special to some people. And now we're gonna fly over to Zangarmarsh. And amidst the luscious mushroom of the Zangarmarsh, we have the Serpent Shrine, or rather the Kolfang Reservoir, which is this very hidden entrance to both a raid and 3 dungeons. And we're gonna swim down here just like we did a while back on Malric to tame some of the beasties in here. But today we are not here for taming, we are here for killing, obviously. And even though we could also do Serpent Shrine, I'm not gonna do that just yet, because there is actually a quest for which you need to kill both Kalthas in the Eye and Lady Vash in the Serpent Shrine, and that will reward you with a lot of reputation for one of the other fractions that we haven't really touched upon yet. So I'm gonna hold back on my desire to go into that raid and get the last few pieces of transmog from there, and we're just gonna jump into the Underbog, which is the first dungeon that we're gonna do, because you know it by now, the Underbog lets you exit by the entrance again. And now you're gonna see that this dungeon is also very special, because in here we get not only a reputation for the Cenarian expedition, we also get reputation for the Sporiga, which are the little mushroom people that we already gained some reputation with on our rogue to get a cooking recipe. The reputation you get in here for the Sporiga is pretty insane. Like, with the 50% reputation buff, you need 1 or 2 runs through the entire instance and also some handing in of the blood hibiscus, and then you're basically exalted with them. And also, these are the sanguine hibiscus that I just called blood hibiscus. And also, for some reason, since people are super lazy, you can also sell them on the auction house for a little bit of gold. Even though I never really understand why, because you get them in such an abundance, and if you really want to, you can even run through this dungeon on normal and gather them there. But hey, the laziness of people is always your best ally if you want to make gold in World of Warcraft, let's be honest here. And now we are done with this dungeon, and I'm gonna quickly hand in all the quests and sanguine hibiscus that we gathered, and then we're gonna be onwards to the next dungeon. And the next dungeon on our list is actually going to be the Steamvault, because even though the Steamvault and the Slave Pens both let you run all the way back to the entrance at the end, the Steamvault is the much shorter one of the two. So let's first go in here. And also, yes, you're seeing that correctly. So far, I haven't really bothered to remog any of my items. I forgot, okay? I forgot. What do you want me to say? So don't forget to click on this little device, whatever that is, that Hydromancer Taspia was protecting. Because if you forgot that, then you have to run all the way back here to open the final door of the dungeon. And over here we're gonna do what usually a cool hero like us probably shouldn't do, but we're gonna kill these dredged slaves because we're gonna kill the slave masters, because that way we're gonna get a lot more reputation. Of course, you don't have to do this, only if you're a little dirty min-maxer like me, you have to. Otherwise, you can just be a good person. Also, don't forget to click the strange little device and to mine all the ore deposits. And like I already said earlier, there are also some schematics that you can only get from the dungeons. So be sure to keep an eye out for those, because some of them have a really shitty drop chance. So far away, that fell iron deposit, my god. Don't they know that I'm a poor little paladin? And another one in the back. And back we zoom now to the very last dungeon, which is the Slave Pens. And our inventory is mighty full. The problem is, if we want to sell all of our stuff, then we need to go up for air, because there is a vendor actually down here in the Serpent Shrine, but the thing is, he only vendors stuff to you and lets you repair and stuff if you are exalted with the Cenarian expedition, which we are not that far away from, but obviously we haven't achieved that yet. So, well, I'm just gonna hope that I'm not gonna get too many random drops, and we're gonna be okay with just 34 backspaces left. And also, we're gonna do the same shitty thing that we did in the other dungeon here and try to kill as many slaves before you kill the slave masters. Because it's reputation, guys, okay? It's reputation. I never said that my paladin is a good person, okay? Oh, but we get rewarded nonetheless with a corium vein. Avert your eyes. Alright, listen, I freed one of the wasteland workers. It was an accident, but still I freed one, okay? One is better than none. And now we're gonna do what I call a very cool bubble stunt. Are you ready? I certainly am. Bam. Epicness. Epicness on a horse. I don't really remember what this quest was, but I'm gonna accept it. But I think it was something really annoying, but we shall see. Wants you to bring him the earthen signet and the blazing signet. Oh yeah, this is from Gruul and Nightbane. Oh, Nightbane. How do you even summon that one now? I know how you summon the one from the new Karazhan, but how do you get the old one? Well, we're gonna accept it for now, because at some point we're gonna go to Karazhan anyway. And to Gruul's lair. We're gonna do everything that is Burning Crusade this week. At first we're gonna kill this giant crab. And now let's kill this dude and hope that he will give me my breastplate, because that would be pretty epic. No, that's not it. And usually now I would just port out of this dungeon, but because I want to clean up my quest log, I'm gonna run it down and hand in our quests. And then we're gonna be on our merry way to the next dungeons. Because you think, just because you're used to Dragonflight and Shadowlands giving you 1.5 dungeons per expansion, nah. With Outlands, we're not done yet. Not even close to being done. There are a lot more dungeons to do. Don't you even worry about it. I mean, to be fair to the slave bands, you can actually use a little shortcut back. It's still a long shot from immediately, you know, being back at the entrance, but at least you don't have to run the whole way back. It's just half of it and a little bit more. But once again, before I do anything else, I'm gonna do the old selling all my stuff and looking for transmog dance. And I'm also gonna quickly pick up the recipe for the clam bar after I obviously quickly picked up the mushroom to be able to pay for it, just so we have another recipe that we can skill cooking with. And now I'm gonna use my power as an engineer and travel to Area 52 without flying the whole way there. This is a very handy toy that you can only use as a goblin engineer. As a gnomish engineer, you're gonna have 2 different teleports, but we're gonna use this one because we wanna be a nether storm. Alrighty, and now we are going to do the dungeons of Tempest Keep, but just like with the Serpent Shrine, we are actually not gonna go into Tempest Keep and just gonna run through the Mechana, the Botanica and the Arcatraz, which are the 3 dungeons that surround the raid instance. And in here we can go either way around. I usually go the right way and do this part of the instance first. And by the way, one tiny thing that I probably haven't mentioned so far is if you do the reputation grind for the Aldor or the Scryers through the reputation items, you automatically will also reach Honored with the Shatar, which is the fraction that also resides in Shathrad. And as you can see, this is the reputation that you get in the Eye dungeons. So if you already want to start with a little advantage, then you should definitely do the Aldor or the Scryers before you start farming for the Shatar in the Eye dungeons. As you can see, the Mechanar is a rather short dungeon that you can quickly blaze through. And this is Pathalion the Calculator, who has already earned our ire back on the Hellfire Peninsula, where he has dropped all of these red crystals onto the ground that enraged the giants there. And now onwards we go. We are going to ignore the Alcatraz that is big red up there and go to the Botanica first, because the Alcatraz won't let us leave that easily, but the Botanica does. And some more quests from Adal. Also, yes, they were absolutely addicted to making as many mobs as possible capable of charging it. And yes, I still haven't remocked my stuff, okay? Don't boo me! To be honest, I was planning to mock one of the recolor dungeon sets that you get in the TBC dungeons, because I'm basically missing from every single one piece and one piece only. But so far we had no luck. None of the missing pieces dropped. But we got a shield. Ooh, I don't mind that shield at all. That's nice blood elf colors. And this is also a dungeon where there are a few sneaking around rogues to find and to kill. And done with this one as well. Now I think I'm gonna be a smart boy and sell all of this stuff before I enter the Alcatraz. So we're gonna see each other on the inside of the prison. And here we are, and first we're gonna kill these wardens. And then we're gonna move on to bigger fish to fry. Sadly, all of these protean horrors don't give reputation, but the big ones do. And we walked a little bit too close to this corpse. These corpses spawn little maggots, and they also don't give any reputation, but they're very annoying, especially if you do this on level. These Alcatraz sentinels, on the other hand, you should definitely attack because they give you a little bit of reputation every time you kill one. And don't forget to loot all of these Void Walkers because they have a chance to drop you some Mote of Shadows, and those things, first of all, you always need for professions in TBC, and also if you don't need them yourself, you can sell these elemental parts of Outlands for a lot of gold on the auction house. And now onwards we zoom through this very aesthetically pleasing dungeon. I really like this aesthetic of Burning Crusade. I always loved how this is so like nothing else in WoW. Especially these parts where you just look into these endless rows of prison cells. And it just always gives me this very nice Star Wars feeling, which I very much appreciate. And now we have a little bit of roleplay to endure, because Warden Melichar will not kindly just hand us the win over this dungeon. He will famously first deploy 4 prisoners to fight against us, one of them being Millhouse Manastorm in his, I think, first appearance in the game, and then the final boss of the dungeon will come out of his pretty little cell that is behind this blood elf. And here comes our final boss, Harbinger Skyris. Never got why he killed him, not gonna lie. And not because I think you should be thankful for all the help, but like, why would you just kill one of your willing servants like that? Just to show that you're really meanie? I mean, I gathered that from your appearance. Anyway, I'm gonna pick up the loot that I forgot over here, and then we're gonna take a little teleport out of here, because I'm not in the mood to run all the way out of here again, and anyway, we are done in Netherstorm for now. And now our final voyage for the dungeons takes us to the Caverns of Time, and here we're gonna be very lazy and accept to the Master's Lair and just take the little trip downstairs on the Steward of Time's back. And down here we gonna do another of Outlands' very great quests that is mostly just going around in a circle with one of the quest givers. I will spare you the details, but just know that I will follow this sexy lady all around the Caverns of Time now. See you when I'm done. Alrighty. Easy peasy, that was it. And now I have also picked up on another quest, which is the quest that I was talking about earlier, where we have to kill Kel'Thas and Lady Vash, which we will do, but not today. But we will do the Black Morass and even Old Hillsbred Foothills. Yeah, I know, I can't believe it either, but we're gonna start with the lesser of 2 evils, which is the opening of the Dark Portal. And first of all, we're gonna be transformed into a sexy human lady. And then we're gonna zoom to the other end of the instance and talk to Medivh, because we're actually gonna be the bad guys that gonna help that dude opening the Dark Portal for the first time. And this is, by the way, what the Blasted Lands looked like before they became the Blasted Lands and were still a morass. But alas, you know, some people cannot help themselves and have to open portals to dark worlds, and then bad stuff happens. And this is, by the way, the blueprint for the dungeon model that we would later see being returned in the Violet Hold, the little dungeon that is inside of Dalaran. Both of them, by the way. And you can already see the time rifts that have opened so far are 4 out of 18, and we have to write to those little swirly golden portal whatever they are, and we have to keep them from running over to Medivh and hurt him. But since we have the power of one-shots on our side, I don't think that's gonna be a problem. And actually, the end boss of this dungeon is hopefully going to finally drop some shoulders for me, and then I can transmog a whole new Rekiller set that I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. And yes, by the way, this is the only dungeon, alongside with the one where you have to save Thrall, that will give you reputation for the Keepers of Time. So, yeah. You should definitely take advantage of the 50% reputation buff, because that's gonna make your farming of these two instances a lot more enjoyable. Trust. And with the last portal defeated, we're gonna see the end boss in just a second. And I hope he's gonna drop my shoulders. Oh, he did! Yeah, well. Isn't that nice? I'm gonna remog real quick. We're gonna see each other in just a second. And here we have our new drip that I have finally finished collecting. This is a recolor of, you won't believe it, the tier 1 set of the warrior. I really like this set. I like this slightly red-pink hue that it brings with it. And I also wouldn't mind transmogging this helmet, but right now my hair would clip into it and I don't really like that look. So I'm gonna mock that as soon as I'm gonna see a barber. And we gonna go and save our once very proud war chief. Easy peasy. And here we have arrived in Durnholde Keep. And we're gonna take care of all of these sentries bit by bit. These pit spectators, you can just leave them be. They're not gonna give you any reputation. Unlike all of these guys that are telling you that they're just were following orders. Whoopsie. Yeah, you're still not the good guys if you're saying something like that, trust me. And if you've never done this dungeon, you definitely have to start down here in the barracks and deploy all of these traps, because otherwise the first boss won't show up. So this dungeon right from the get-go shows you that you will need to spend some more time with it than with all the other dungeons that we've seen so far. Because even though I love farming reputation, this is one of these reputation bars that not even I am very excited about filling up. And also, yes, let's just ignore the fact that these are camps for orcs, and let's just pretend that the Alliance has never done a bad thing in their lives, alright? And before we free Thrall, we're also gonna run quickly upstairs, because there are some more mobs that want our attention. Alright, hello Thrall. Boom, level up. And let's get you out of here while I pick up a new talent point. Our future green Jesus needs to pick up some armor first to just let us do all the work anyway. Yes, Thrall, a rider approaches. You are so sharp. Alright, and now, very importantly, we're gonna talk to Thrall, and he's gonna show us that he never bothered to put in the gold to learn fast riding. So, yeah, we're gonna take care of these Lordaeron Watchmen, because they're gonna attack Thrall otherwise. And our sweet guy is gonna do his best to, you know, be quick about his business. Yeah, see you on the flip side. And now we're gonna talk to him again, and while he is searching for Tabitha in all the wrong places, we're gonna zoom around and kill a few more of mobs that otherwise we probably wouldn't run into. You coming, my guy? Look at him go, he's zooming. A strange wizard, it can't be. And now we go outside and of course face another roleplay before we can finally end the end boss of this dungeon. And take this. And this. And also this. And just like this, we did it! And we have to wait even longer so we can hand in our quest for reputation reasons. And with all of these dungeons in our bags, I'm gonna end the episode right here. You might have noticed that I left out the Magister's Terrace, and that is simply because that was the dungeon that I tried out if I could already one-shot all of the enemies. Next time, we're definitely gonna look for our Mount in Antoros. We're gonna continue our reputation grind because, well, it's still TBC week, so we're gonna make the most out of it. But until then, I'm gonna say thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked it, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and a comment. It helps and I appreciate it so much. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider doing that as well. But that's it for now, and I hope I'm gonna see you in the next episode. Until then, bye bye!